welcome back to another episode of Commodore Clash. In today's episode, Andrew Wilf and Zach Phillip discuss Vanderbilt football's upcoming matchup with the Florida Gators, and they also discuss Ken Seals and A.J. Swan battling for the quarterback one position. Welcome back to another episode of Commodore Clash. On Saturday, Vanderbilt fell to Missouri 38-21 in quite a disappointing game. Vanderbilt had their fourth consecutive loss at the hands of quarterback Ken Seals, who made his first start in 2 seasons. A.J. Swan was nursing an elbow injury and did not make the start. I am joined today by Zach Phillip, sports staff writer for the Vanderbilt Hustler, and we're really excited to have him. Zach, what are your thoughts on the game and what went wrong in Vanderbilt's 17-point loss?
Yeah, overall, I thought the defense did a decent job. I thought the secondary really struggled. Luther Burden had a massive day. Brady Cook just sliced us open with, I think, an 80% completion percentage. Offensively, I was encouraged by Ken Seals. I thought he provided a little bit of mobility, something we've been missing. Something Jonah and I talked about last week that I failed to see again was just consistency in the run game. Once again, Clark Lee is spreading the ball out so much. No Vanderbilt running back had more than 5 carries. Personally, I'd love to see Cedric Alexander get the rock. I think he's the guy that's going to make the difference for this team. Yeah, and on the depth chart this week, we were at press conference on Tuesday, Cedric Alexander was listed as the potential running back one behind Patrick Smith. It said Patrick Smith or Cedric Alexander. I'm going to transition. You said the secondary. I'm going to say the offensive line. I know the play calling by Joey Lynch and co. has not been anything to write home about. But this offensive line had 3 false start penalties and really didn't give Ken Seals much time in the pocket. Some of his touchdowns, for example, to Junior Sherrill, were because he climbed up in the pocket and found an open receiver. He really didn't have much time, and I think Seals played pretty solid. I was impressed. I know maybe passer rating wasn't incredible, but he took care of the ball, and that was such an emphasis after A.J. Swan had such an interception and error-inflated game against the Kentucky Wildcats. I think you're exactly right. We only saw 1 turnover from Ken Seals, albeit an absolutely crucial interception at a terrible time in the red zone when Vanderbilt was driving, attempting to begin their comeback. But I thought he did a nice job to respond, and ultimately he led Vanderbilt to a couple more good drives in that game. But I think you're right, to your point about the play calling. When Vanderbilt was conservative play calling, they're not moving the ball. But right. When you give Shepard a chance, I mean, I think he's one of the top jump ball receivers in the nation statistically. If you throw the ball up to Shepard one-on-one, he's going to make some plays. And for a team that hasn't won an SEC game, is not looking good offensively, just can't find its rhythm, you got to take some chances and toss it up to your playmakers. And I think same with Jaden McGowan, get him out on the edges. And he and Shepard really can make some plays and jumpstart this offense. Absolutely. You think about those 2 guys in addition to London Humphreys and Quincy Skinner. The receiver room for Vanderbilt is quite a strength. How can they continue to use that with the running game being so poor? Because when you get a good running game, you can develop a play-action pass, and receivers will be open. What's the solution if you're Joey Lynch? Well, I think that Vanderbilt needs to try to take the top off some defenses. Yeah. We have some absolute gunners on the side. Quincy Skinner can fly. London Humphreys, as we've seen, can fly. Will Shepard, massive catch radius. Let's send some guys deep, and I think we saw it on Saturday. Ken Seals had a massive long touchdown. We had some breakaway plays with Shepard, and ultimately that will move the secondary, the safety, the linebackers, everybody a step back, as they need to watch for the pass. And that'll open up the box, empty the box for hopefully Cedric Alexander and a rather unimpressive offensive line to get the run game jump-started. Absolutely, and let's transition to Vanderbilt's upcoming matchup against Gainesville. The biggest question on West End right now is who is going to be the QB1. Ken Seals, veteran, been with the program for 4 years now, and he has a lot of experience, but he doesn't have the ball power and the long ball skill that A.J. Swan did. But he provides ball security, a sense of certainty, and he plays within himself, something that you really need as a good game manager. The question is, if A.J. Swan is fully healthy, who are you taking at quarterback? I think I'm going straight to Ken Seals. I was really impressed. I thought he gives Vanderbilt the best chance to win right now. And something that we haven't talked about yet is just his intangible leadership skills. Right. You and I attended the Clark Lee press conference earlier today, and he touched on it. He called Ken Seals brought a different spirit to the team. And I think that's something that's important, right? To get the energy up of the team and provide a little hope. I think Ken Seals has to be the guy. The turnovers were a huge problem with A.J. Swan, and as we head into a really difficult SEC schedule, turning the ball over is going to be key. So I think Ken Seals is your guy right now until he proves that he can't. And ultimately, I think Ken Seals is going to ride out the rest of the season.
Absolutely. And as a Vanderbilt fan, as a football fan, you think Seals is the better option right now. But I think Clark Lee does have a special place in his heart for A.J. Swan. That was his first recruit, and he doesn't want to feel like he made a big mistake. I wrote a feature before the season that he's the main signal caller. He's going to drive this team to a bowl game, but A.J. Swan had quite a disappointing season, and with 2 wins and 6 games to go, games against ranked teams like Georgia, Ole Miss, and I know Florida's not ranked anymore, but they're very solid, Tennessee, they might not win another game. My guess is they'll have 3 wins and beat Auburn in Vanderbilt's last home game. Do you think Vanderbilt will win any other games yet?
So I was looking at this, and I think you hit the nail on the head. The only game that I'm really thinking Vanderbilt can take is that one.
And they'll still be underdogs.
Yeah, absolutely. They're home against Auburn, coming off a bye, and they're going to be probably 7-point underdogs at minimum. And looking down the rest of the schedule, they've got Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee. That didn't include the Auburn game. There's a lot of ranked teams in there, and I don't see a lot of chances for winning. And I think Auburn's got to be the only opportunity for Vanderbilt. Potentially that South Carolina game. Keep your eye there, but I think Auburn's the best chance.
Before we get ahead of ourselves and talk about the NFL, let's just quickly preview this game against Florida. The Gators fell in quite disappointing fashion to Kentucky last week, but they are a solid team, and playing in the Swamp is always a tough place to play. I know they don't have quarterback Anthony Richardson anymore as he's on the Indianapolis Colts in the NFL, but this team is not a team you want to play against in Gainesville, especially with such a loud environment. Clark Lee said in the press conference on Tuesday how important it is to try to simulate the noise, because this will be the loudest environment they play in maybe all year.
Yeah, Florida's offense statistically has been off the charts. Their quarterback, Graham Mertz, completing some 79% of his passes.
Yeah.
They have a thunder and lightning combo in the backfield with Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson Jr. They run the ball 55% of their snaps, which is really high. They're going to just try to pound the ball down Vanderbilt's throats, which may give the secondary a little bit of relief. But if quarterback Mertz tries to open it up, we'll see if the secondary can hang on to a Florida passing attack that isn't extremely impressive, though they do have Pearsall, a wideout who's had really impressive statistics and has led the team.
Keys to victory for me is run the ball, ground and pound, stick to it. Maybe you're down 7 or 10 points. That doesn't mean go away with the run game, because once you can develop a running game, you can have a play-action pass where you can use Justin Ball and all your receivers, and maybe your running backs in the flat or with some slip screens. Let's talk about game predictions. I think Vanderbilt falls to the Gators 31-17. Just never will really be able to be within one possession due to Vanderbilt's lack of secondary experience and lack of running prowess.
I think you've got the margin pretty close to what I'm thinking about. Just a little bit higher scoring. I think the Vanderbilt offense with Seals is hopefully going to be able to move the ball a little bit. But I am very worried about the Vanderbilt defense against this impressive Florida offense. I'm going to go with 40-23,
right,
a Florida win.
I like that. And Zach, what are your hot takes for the game? What's your hot take for the game?
My hot take for the game is 150 yards receiving for Will Shepherd with 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a massive day, as we saw this week. Seals and him had a little bit of chemistry when Seals was giving him a chance. When the offense had it in its plans to give him the football, he was performing. He produced. I think he's going to have a massive game.
I think Ken Seals has 2 touchdowns, but in addition, he has 300 yards, really good passing game, but maybe he doesn't score a bunch, because I did say they're only going to score 14 points, but I think Seals is going to have 300 yards passing and then secure his job for the rest of the season. Let's transition to NFL. Just finished week 4, a lot of excitement. This is pretty much the quarter mark of the NFL season. Aaron Rodgers still has a torn Achilles. Taylor Swift is blowing the NFL up with helping the Chiefs' social media following. What's been really exciting for you, and what have you seen where you're like, wow, this team or this player is really impressing me?
Yeah, I'm going right to the NFC. I know the Eagles have a depleted secondary and linebacking corps, but if their defense can hit its stride, I think the Eagles could really do some damage in the NFC. But really, I'm looking at the Niners. I think the Niners have a chance at going 17-0 with at least 15 wins.
First undefeated season in the new 17-game schedule.
Absolutely.
Under Brock Purdy?
I think so. This team is so complete across the board. If you look at every single position, they have a stud. They are moving the ball with ease on every defense they played. They're running it nicely. They're throwing it nicely. And I think it's probably the best defense in the league with a brilliant offensive-minded head coach. Look for the Niners to do some damage.
I think Justin Fields gets benched midway through the season because I know he had a decent game against the Broncos, but he's been so underwhelming. You can't say someone's a bust just yet, but he is doing nothing right, and the Bears are looking right at Caleb Williams and that #1 pick.
Yeah, I think you're right. And if you look at that draft class, you see Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence is the other one in the first round there, but those first four I listed, they're all not looking great right now and maybe losing their starting positions this season. But I agree with you. I think the Bears need to keep their sights set on Caleb Williams and potentially Marvin Harrison Jr. They have the second pick in the draft right now as well because they had the Carolina Panthers last pick when they traded for Bryce Young. If they can get those two guys, it could jumpstart an offense that might be able to compete in the NFC.
Absolutely. A lot of exciting things on Commodore Clash, and thank you all for listening and watching again. Now we will be kicking off to Street Sports, a new segment where we interview members of the Vanderbilt community on all things sports.
Do you think Vandy will win the game this weekend?
I do.
Do you think Vandy will win this weekend?
Yes, for sure.
Do you think Vandy will win this weekend?
No, because we're terrible at sports.
Why do you think we're bad? What can Coach Lee do to improve?
Oh, I don't watch football, so I can't tell him like specific stuff. But what I can say is the reason why we're in the SEC still is because we raised the collective GPA of the SEC, which makes sense, but we're the brains, not the brawn. You know what I'm saying?
That's our contribution.
Remember when we changed the logo?
That's so true. What do you think about the logo change?
It's terrible, and we want to become a more sports school, but we're not that.
It is terrible.
Come on! Yeah. So you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first.
There you go. Do you think Vandy will win the game this weekend?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay, that's a hot take. Why?
I feel like that shouldn't be a hot take. We gotta have faith in the boys to pull off the victory. You know, anchor down.
Anchor down. Okay. What do you think?
I mean, anchor down and all, but we're gonna get killed this week. I mean, I don't really have that much faith. We haven't had a great season so far. I got my fingers crossed, but hopefully
we have differing opinions. That's good. That's good. Do you think Vandy will win the game this weekend?
I think Vandy will win the game this weekend because we beat Florida last year. Chomp chomp.
That's good. Do I say thank you now or no?
No.
Okay.